Now we're going to run through an example and show how it would be recorded on the financial statements under the new rules for both a finance and an operating lease. Let's assume that you've just signed a new lease with following terms. It's an office space. It's 50,000 square feet. It's a 7-year deal that starts on January 1st, 2017, and I did that in order to show you the change that happens in 2019, so you can see the difference. The base lease rate is $5 per square foot per month triple net. It has 3% annual increases. The base expense amount is $1.60 per square foot per month. There is a $50 TI allowance from the landlord. And finally, the total construction cost is $100 per square foot. We're going to look at this lease as if it were both an operating lease and a finance lease. In the real world, your lease would be one or the other, but I need to compare the two in order to show you some of the differences. Here's a summary page of how that lease would impact the financial statements. For the first half of this course, we're going to toggle back and forth between two versions of this summary. One showing our hypothetical lease as an operating lease and one showing it as a finance lease. I've run this analysis in a tool called Lease Calcs. I'm going to switch back and forth between an example so that you can see how the rules affect each one. There are 4 sections on this summary page. The cash flow section at the top, the balance sheet directly below that, then the income statement, and in the bottom left section a few other details. You'll also notice in that bottom left section where it says right of use asset on ED and lease liability on ED, shown by the yellow arrows here and here. ED stands for effective date, which refers to when the new rules take effect. The numbers are the balance of the asset and liability on day one. I started this hypothetical lease in 2017 so that you can see the change from the new rules to the new rules from the old ones. In this example, I'm pretending you're a public company, so that means the change shows up in 2019. For example, if you look at the section for the asset and liability, which is here, you'll see nothing recorded until 2019. The summary page you're looking at now is an operating lease. And just remember, this is the new definition of an operating lease, which is why you see something recorded on the balance sheet in 2019. The key difference between the new operating lease and the new finance lease all shows up on the income statement. The operating lease continues to expense rent on a straight line basis, while a finance lease uses amortization and interest. You can see here that there is no amortization and interest expense at any point during this lease. It is all straight line expense shown here. Now let's jump to an example of the exact same lease that has been recorded as a finance lease. Just like the operating lease, we recorded something for the asset and liability, which you can see here. But if you look at the income statement section, you'll see here that unlike the operating lease, interest and amortization expense start in 2019. We'll go into greater detail about this later, but I wanted to point it out now for future reference. We'll start by discussing the asset and liability balances that are recorded on day one, which are both shown here.